Peter Michaels.
Hello, Patrick Bateman.
Here in the Communal Creative Studios.
I'm here, but I'm not here.
Yes, because you are right now. I don't know what I was about to say.
I don't even know when this episode's going to come out.
Hanging out with Mickey Mouse.
I might be with a mouse, or might be having a ballpark hot dog.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going to be when this actually comes out. But,
baseball. Will you do Universal as well?
This time we're not.
Do you like Universal?
It's okay.
Okay.
We've got So this is like a kind of like we do this trip fairly regularly.
Going to sunny California.
Sunny California, and for whatever reason we have a little bit less time. Obviously the budgets are a little more stringent these days, so Universal was cut.
All right.
And I enjoy it. 100% I enjoy it, but it's just one of those things when you're looking at what should we do, what can't we do. I'd rather go to another baseball game than.
Well, I would like very much to go back in time and see the set of the guest on the road the stage today.
Yeah, I'm looking very forward to this chat because she was just like a mesmerizing, I don't know if that's the right word, performer, like just.
Oh, no. I mean, I've seen nothing like him ever.
Yeah.
Right? It's just. It's a level of talent and style that
and I think
is rare to witness.
Into the show that we were talking about, you were a little more familiar with her tunes?
With Begonia, a little bit. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I've listened to, and her album Fear, which came out in 2019, I think it was a pretty big deal. But again, it's not necessarily a vein of music that I spend too much time on. It's also not, like, I don't know what Begonia or Alexa would categorize herself as necessarily, but it's not a huge market, right? You don't have a chance once a week to see a musician like this.
True.
At a venue that always has shows like this.
Yeah.
So a couple months ago, Begonia opened up for Shaky Graves at Bose, and it was crazy. Like, it was so good. Which, I mean, we've said it a million times since then, right?
And she's maybe a name that's familiar with you, maybe not. I wasn't super familiar. And then when I was actually kind of going through and doing some of my research for this, I did look up the previous band that she'll end up talking about,
Chic Gamine,
which I hadn't heard before. Juno Award winning, but in a kind of a genre that I don't typically dive into. So I thought, well, I'll go and give it. I listened to that whole debut album of theirs from front to back while I actually stopped doing my research. Just to listen to that album, and it's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent out there, and Begonia is indeed one of the. I mean, and towards the end of the conversation, we talk a bit about the band behind Alexa, and they're all mega talented.
Yeah, and it's funny, as I was kind of listening to some of her stuff, I did liken it a little bit in a way. So there's some Adele comparisons that get thrown out, and you'll see that in a couple of things. And I think she's even brought up that it's been brought up to her about the Adele comparisons.
Yeah, but who else do you compare to?
But who else do you? And I hate comparing, but if you're going to compare, but it almost seemed to me like in a craft beer kind of way, Adele is the Budweiser and Begonia is the craft beer.
Interesting.
To me, it felt like that.
Yeah,
a little more flavor, a little more substance, a little more.
I have not spent enough time listening to Adele, but that category seems so small. Like, where are these powerhouse singers?
Yeah.
Right? Can you name more than 5?
Definitely not.
Exactly. So it's an important segment of the music scene, and I feel very grateful that we got to witness it firsthand here in Red Deer. It's very
another
cool.
Winnipegger, which is just
we're running out of Winnipeg musicians at this point.
I don't know. Are we gonna? Big thanks to Sawback Brewing Company, Go Services Inc., and Bose Bar and Stage.
Yes.
What about our buddies here doing some
Ryan and Ryley, producers Extreme Supreme or something like that, here in the Communal Creative Studios, which has a YouTube channel where you can watch all of our episodes of The Road the Stage. It is called Communal Creative Studios on YouTube. Go subscribe.
And this is episode 65.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy stuff. So let's get to it.
I hear y'all. Do you hear me?
We got you loud and clear. That was remarkably fast. Right?
Yeah.
That Winnipeg fiber.
The what?
That Winnipeg fiber speed internet.
How's it going?
We really pride ourselves on our internet speed here, for sure.
I do like our backdrop pretty nice, but I think we need some fish.
Yeah, no, y'all look way more pro. I tried to get some sort of backdrop that was kind of cool, but you look like.
No, that's pretty impressive. I like it.
You have a deeper appreciation for art than the average person, right, Alexa?
Yes, fine art.
Is that Nemo up in the top? No.
Exactly. We found him.
Because your father works in visual art, right?
Yeah, he's an artist.
Oh, he's an artist and he's a curator as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, researchy. I love it.
We've actually just done a couple of interviews where there's been very little information out there about the guests. That's not the case for you though, because you've been around for a long fucking time.
Yeah, there's some Google searches that I don't Google image myself anymore.
It used to be an issue or what?
I don't know. It's just I guess I'm a very emotive singer. So like all the images, I'm just like in every. So I'm just like, that's cool. Keep it to yourself.
I have my wife hates it because I have a knack of just taking and those exact moments, right? Where your face is all twisted, contorted, your eyes are half open, half closed. And I managed to snap those shots almost every single time.
Really?
She hates it.
You're like, look how beautiful you are. Right? And she's like,
I'll show you later the profile pic on my phone when it comes up.
But that's just for friends and family, not for taking pictures at concerts or what?
No, all the way around. I can do it too. I bet you. I think I could probably find a couple on my phone that I maybe captured of you at Bose here that might.
Yeah, it's just
fun.
It's not my truth to look calm in singing photos. It's just not my destiny, and I've come to terms with it. I'm okay with it.
Which is great. That kind of like I mean. The first thing I thought about when we were doing this chat was, how do I not just spend the hour complimenting how fantastic you are? Because we'll get into that. Like when you played at Bo's opening for Shaky, and I think we both had the same experience, but I came in just a touch late, and I came through the kitchen doors at Bo's, and I just opened up the door, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like just voice commands attention immediately. So has it always been that way? Like when you were little, did you just command a room?
I mean, you'd have to ask my mother. I mean, I definitely sang and took up space from a young age, definitely. I mean, I feel like I was definitely a person that like my parents would have like friends over and I'd be like, want to hear me sing a song? Like I'd just come into the room, whatever. And would just always try to like take opportunities to sing like at school and stuff, like go for the solos, like try to do stuff like that. Yeah, I was allowed or it's like I was shy in some ways, but then when it came to like singing and being out there in that way, it just was something that I didn't even think twice about. I was just always making noise.
But you've got it hasn't always been like that. It seems based on some of what I read about you is that you've kind of been on a roller coaster of confidence in terms of like exposing yourself as a solo artist. So we're talking about Alexa as a young kid. You're taking up space on some church stages, right, for a number of years.
Yeah.
In which case you are not the center of attention.
No, not supposed to be. But yeah. No, yeah, definitely started off kind of in the church context. Yeah, where it's easier to be like, we're all doing this together. So then I would feel more comfortable, not necessarily being like the center of attention, but still getting a chance to explore what it felt like to be in front of people. Like on a stage, to feel what that felt like. Definitely.
And did you have a constant like, just bring it down just a little bit? But you just got to bring it down just a little. Like, were you constantly fighting that, or was it just like all bets off and you just give her?
I would just give her. I mean, I felt like I could read a room enough. Like I definitely didn't like being annoying. Like I feel like I was self-conscious enough to not necessarily be in everybody's face. But yeah, I was loud. I feel like if I see kind of like home videos of myself as a kid, generally I'm in like my own world. Like I feel like I would just create kind of like worlds by myself where I'd be singing. It was more for me. Like I wasn't necessarily I didn't always necessarily even want people to look at me, but I just would sing songs or create my own little worlds. But it was mostly just for me because I was always somewhere in my mind different than where I was, I guess. I don't know.
And whether intentional or not, like the knack for you drawing people in to want to come into that world, like that's one of the things that, again, I just walked through that door, heard that voice, and just was immediately like, oh, what is she saying?
Yep.
And I do feel like the church definitely gave me a foundation for that. I don't affiliate with the church anymore in that way. Like, but that was definitely like a crash course in inviting people in a way, because with that music, you're meant to be leading people, like with like praise and worship music or whatever. Like you're on stage and you're supposed to be, and I was taught from a young age, like engage with the crowd. Like you're supposed to be leading people in music. So it was always like less about the performance outward as it was about keeping my eyes open and like watching people and kind of inviting people in or whatever. And I feel like for better or for worse, whatever happened with the church, who cares? But it's like that stuck with me, definitely, that performance style, I guess, in a way of just like trying to invite people into like what I'm saying, even though I'm not necessarily asking them to like praise the Lord anymore, but I'm kind of just like, let's all be in this space together, like feeling emotions together, or like just trying to be like, it is kind of like that community energy definitely is still a part of how I perform and how I like see music in certain ways.
You're just drawing them in for a very different focus.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very different focus.
For emotional release rather than try to go to heaven or hell or whatever.
Yeah, obviously. So it's a good thing our podcast is not that original concept of church performers and what went
we
wrong,
were totally
right?
We had sat down and had meetings and we're like, this is really
we will only talk to musicians who got their start in church groups.
Okay, cool. Well, the list. You'd be surprised. I mean, do you know Joey Landreth?
Yeah, so many guests that we have.
That's where we met, was in the church, and that was my first band, like my first band that I was ever really on a stage and touring with was with Joey when we were like 15.
Yeah, no, I mean
that is definitely not uncommon.
Boy Golden had a similar start.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
No, I mean it's and as someone who my family did go to church when I was a young teen, but I mean there got to a certain point where that was the only thing that I actually really cared about on Sunday mornings was seeing that band rock out for 15 or 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
Well, and I didn't necessarily go to like a rock out church. It was kind of more on the milder side. Like it was kind of in between like hymns, and then there would be a drum set, but then there'd be like plexiglass in front of it and like shit like that, where it's just like, like we're afraid of rock music, but like we kind of want to be cool.
Yeah.
But then the band that I was in with Joey, we would kind of travel around to other like more mega churches. That's where I kind of saw more of the other side of evangelical Christianity that then eventually kind of turned me off.
Yeah,
but
interesting. Yeah. So so you move on from that. What is Little Boy Boom?
That's my band with Joey and Meg Dolovich, bass player, who I think he's touring with William Prince now, and he's played with a bunch of different acts, and Ryan Voth, who is Winnipeg based, who played that was all the people that I met in that church that church community vibe. We then were like, we want to play in bars. Like we were like turned 18. Well, the drummer was not 18 yet, but we didn't tell anyone that. And we started playing in this local bar every Wednesday. We thought that we had fucking like made it. We thought that we were like we were celebrating that we got like a Wednesday gig that we would play from like 10 p.m. to like 3 a.m. and get like $30 each. But we were like, yeah, we're doing it.
Your first residency.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all in Winnipeg?
Yeah, all in Winnipeg.
And then when did you start to branch out? What was kind of one of the first tours that you went on?
Well, so Little Boy Boom was kind of like the dream of me and my little buddies. We were like, this is going to be our band, but we didn't necessarily really have like a plan of action. We were just playing kind of in bars all the time and really honing our, like, little did I know that I was finding my voice like in real time. Like I didn't go to voice lessons. I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. So it was like, that was how I learned how to sing. But you don't really, when you're just doing it so much, you don't necessarily know that that's what you're doing. But like, I feel like that's how we became the players that we are today. And then there was a, like, kind of a generation older than me, a group of singers in the city. Their band broke up and they wanted to start a new band. And they kind of were like coming to my bar gigs in the back of the bar, being like, hey, maybe this person could sing with us. Invited me for coffee, and then I joined this band that didn't have a name yet, and they were like, okay, we have a showcase in LA, like, and next month. And I was like, I have a Halloween gig like with my bar band next month. So I had to make this choice, like, do I continue on this track with the people that I thought I was gonna like make it with, or do I choose this band who's already kind of established that they want to start this new thing? They have all these gigs from their old band that they had to fulfill. And it was kind of like this open-ended story of like, okay, this is the dream, but you don't really know these people, and this, you don't really know what's going to happen, but these are your best buds. So like it was like one of, if I can like think about it, it was one of like the hardest, like most painful decisions of my teen life. Like I was so torn apart because it was like, this is my dream to travel with music. That's all I wanted to do. And it's presenting itself right there. But then I have these people who I love and who I feel like betrothed to. And there was one day, like a mentor of mine in town, I was hanging out with him, and he was just like, you know, you'd be an idiot to not take this opportunity, right? Like we've seen you playing, like you have to take this, and everyone was going to get these different opportunities. Like you have to take this. And I was like, so then eventually I chose to go kind of more of the mystery route. And then that's how the band Chic Gamine, which was a band I was in for like 8 years. That's how that band was formed. And I was just 19, jumping into an MPV with no air conditioning, driving across the US with these people that kind of knew what they were doing more than I did. And I was just like, my dad was like, are they trying to scam you? Like, do you even know these people? I was like, I don't know. But then it turned into this amazing experience of like opening my eyes to not only opening my eyes to different people that I had never met in my entire life, like from all over the world, but like all these folk festivals that I would have never had the opportunity to see, that are just in these little niche places in like Northern California or like Oregon or like different places in Canada, like in Europe. Like I got to travel all over the world with these people. And that was like the biggest highlight. The music, of course, was so fulfilling and amazing, but just the experience that I got from being in that band was incredible. Like, yeah.
Well, and most of them had a lot of experience already too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of decent guiding voices through it all. Do you remember much about that trip to LA?
Oh yeah, like no air conditioning. That's what I remember the most. So fucking sweaty. And like we just had a bunch of CDs, and it was kind of in the cusp era of like when GPSs were a thing, but then one of the members of the band was like really firm with like, I want to use maps. And I was like, I don't even know how to read a fucking map. And we're just like driving along the desert. And we played these showcases, which now I see them in a bit of a different light. Like some of those showcases are so ridiculous. But we were there just trying to be like, we don't even know what we're going to get. And we were playing in rooms full of like white-haired men with suits on with like clipboards, and then being like, I want to book you for an Alaska run for 3 weeks at these like performing arts halls. Like it was just like a totally different world than I'm in now. But it just like those showcases, some of them were to the effect where like there was a clock on stage, and you had like a 30-minute time slot to present yourself.
Right.
And like the cutest you could possibly be, the coolest you could be. But then if you went overtime, they would shut down the whole like a PA. So if you would, so you're always like staring at the clock, like trying to be like so cool. And then you're like, like, are we even going to get to finish this song? Cause they're like strict kind of performing arts halls, like showcases.
Yeah.
It was just, I didn't even know that those worlds existed. And so it was like, it was an intense experience. And I was 19. Like I was just there kind of like, I don't know, like they'd tell me like, we're meeting at this time. I didn't know what to wear. I didn't know how to do my hair. I didn't know, like, I was just like, just show up and sing. Have fun.
And is there any, like at 19, like, do you remember, is there any part of you that had like some kind of radar and your eyes open? Because I mean, the stories are endless of people going and trying and getting taken advantage of and signing bad deals. So at 19, do you think about any of that at all? Do you remember? Or was it just?
We cycled through like a few different managers, like throughout the life of that band. And I think we were kind of like, we would just walk into a room. I don't know, like, I feel like, yes, we definitely had a lot of people saying the promises of like, we're going to give you this, or, oh, you just come play this show and then you're going to be famous. And, oh, I bet, we had someone being like, I bet Prince is going to come to your Minneapolis show. Like just fucking like stupid ass shit that you look back on and you're just like, are you fucking kidding me? But when people are saying that to you in those moments and you want to receive whatever good things people are telling you, you're like, maybe Prince is showing up to my dumbass little show.
One of the most elusive musicians in the history.
Like never
of
goes
music.
out, and like he's gonna come to a Canadian vocal band like playing in Minneapolis. Like it's just like it's fucking dumb. But it's like we definitely had a lot of ups and downs and promises. But this is so fucking cheesy, but it's like the camaraderie that we had within us. It formed this like force field, like where we would just show up to venues and we would just be like, who the fuck cares? Like I was in it to have a good time as well. It's like, it was a quality of life thing. We had so many adventures. We would meet people because we were doing this kind of more fringy, like folk stuff. We were also in a bit of a different world where like some of those promises, yes, were like given to us, but a lot of it was like, come play this weird festival and then go fly fishing in Utah, or like, and then meet this couple and do this. Like, it was just all these different experiences.
Yeah. That
it was a bit different than like the standard track of like being a pop artist and being given all these promises. And we were just a group of women, one guy, 4 women rolling around. We were all fucking loud and weird. And like, it just felt like we, at a certain point, like just didn't give a fuck. Like we would just show up and play, and we were confident in what we could do, but also we were always just looking for like adventure, like looking for like to wring the rag of like experience of like wherever we were. So it's some of my most like greatest memories. Like, and yeah, the lows were fucking low, but there were 5 of us. Right. And we would just be like, that's stupid. That person sucks. I remember going to South by Southwest, and some who will remain nameless, like bigger Canadian industry person, called us fucking cunts. Sorry.
Oh my God.
I shouldn't say that. I heard you say fuck, so now I'm like giving free rein.
Well,
but he like called us like the C word. You can bleep that out.
No.
Because we switched agencies, and he was the head of the other agency. And I heard that, and it was at some barbecue at South by, and I felt so strong with these people. I went up to him at like a day party or something in a bar, and was just like, you can't talk to any of us that way, and like kind of told him off, and like he reached his hand out, and I refused to shake his hand. Like I had so much confidence in my team and in my crew that I felt like I didn't care what anybody said. Like I didn't care who you were. You can't treat, like, I don't know, like I just felt.
I mean, that's atrocious, especially from someone who you're, you know, in some aspect you're supposed to have a working relationship with to a certain degree. That's crazy.
It was supposed to be funny, and like all his kind of cronies around him were like, oh yeah, it's
a stretch.
That's a great joke. But it's like, no, whatever. Like shit would go down, but I always, at the end of the day, I would be sharing a bed with one of my bandmates because we couldn't afford to like get enough hotel rooms for all of us, and we'd just be like, that was stupid. Do you want to go out? Like, just like whatever. Like it felt, and because like I was young enough and kind of not knowledgeable enough in the hustle in some ways that I wasn't, it was only kind of near the end of the band that I was like, oh, industry stuff. Okay. Maybe I am interested in this in a different way. Like I was in it for the love of the game. And then near the end, I'm still in it for the love of the game, but I felt like I was gleaning more of like the business side of things near the end, whereas I wasn't as attuned to that.
But again, you have to learn to play the game if you're going to keep in the game, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of that band, and I know it's not necessarily an alter ego anymore, from what I understand, but was Begonia already a concept before that band had ended?
I mean, I was always making music on the side with multiple other projects, like and with like Matt Schellenberg from Royal Canoe, like we were always kind of making music together, and he was a huge encourager of mine that was always like, oh, one day you got to do this on your own. And I'd be like, oh, you know, I was so comfortable and having so much fun where I was, and I knew that I had that itch to scratch, but it just never, it was like, I'll know when it's the right time. So I had a catalog of music, but not really like a name for it, not really an intention with it. It was just kind of whenever I would be in town, like I would do like a holiday show, like with other bands. Like I had a band that I still play with called the New Lightweights with Ariel Posen and Ryan Voth from my original band. It's like when we would do more kind of like country covers or something. And then I had this other band that was more like okay, we do more like kind of bedroom pop kind of stuff. Like I've just had all these different outlets, because also with Chic Gamine, there were 5 contributing songwriters. So I would maybe write 10 songs, but only like 3 would get on an album. And then I would have 7 other songs that were hanging out there being like, okay, someday I'll do something with this. But it wasn't really, I didn't know what it was until that band ended. And then it was like, okay, is there intention behind this?
Right.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
And it did serve as an alter ego for a minute.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I guess still I can indulge in that, but now more or less it just feels like it's all me. It's all the same in some ways. And people will ask like, do I call you Begonia or is the band Begonia? And I'm like, I don't fucking, whatever the fuck you want. Like when I'm on stage, I say, hi, I'm Begonia, but it's like, it's whatever people perceive it to be. Like, I'll take it. I don't care. Like, because it is a collective in some ways too. And when I came up with the name at first, I wasn't sure, is this a solo project or will I be in a band? Because I was in bands all my life. I had never done anything alone like that. So I thought in my head, like, I'll make a name that could be a band if I end up having a band, but it also could be me. And then it ended up me being in all the photos alone. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. But then still in the background, I'm collaborative in every way. I make all my music with collaborators. I have my live band that I feel so akin with, like, and we, like, it's like, it's not just me that makes it happen, but like I am in all the photos. And I do make all the decisions at the end of the day, which is fun.
Yeah, and we talk about all the time. We bring it up with Winnipeg artists. It's just part of that Winnipeg scene. Like this is all very reminiscent of talking to Liam about the Boy Golden situation, right? It's almost
and Matt Peters and Jess Eyre and it's wild,
like
wild,
man. So and you still live in Winnipeg now? Never any thoughts of Toronto, Vancouver?
Oh yeah. Like I love Winnipeg and I defend it to the death, but that doesn't mean I will never leave. Like. It's one of those places too that is the best place to come back to. And now we're starting to tour again. So my head is all discombobulated because I had never, like since I was 19, I had never been home really for that long. So I'd be like, oh, I love Winnipeg. And then I'd realize I haven't actually spent like a year here in a long time.
Yeah.
So then this like pandemic time kind of just like made me reevaluate, like, okay, what is Winnipeg to me? Like, what is home to me? And I feel like I'm more interested in like extended stays now, like going to maybe LA for a couple months, going to Montreal for a couple months, I just love popping into places, but Winnipeg is always my home. Like there would have to be a really great opportunity, something really
better internet
to pull me there. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but sorry, what did you say?
Better internet.
There'd have to be better Wi-Fi service.
Then Winnipeg.
If Shaw calls me and says we can offer you a better plan if you move to Halifax.
Yeah. Have you been given advice by industry people that?
People try to tell me what to do all the time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
People tell me what to do all the time. Like, and just people from Toronto, I was like, you have to move to Toronto. And people from LA are like, you gotta move to LA. And then people from Montreal are like, you're gonna love it here. And it's like, yeah, I love all those places. Yeah. Fuck you. Like, I just hate the kind of like, and maybe I'm more of a contrarian than I think I am, because I feel like sometimes when people tell me you gotta do this to help your career, then I'm like, that's exactly what I'm not gonna do.
Yeah.
Which maybe isn't always the best for me, but I don't know. I just feel like the entitlement and the lack of like appreciation for what Winnipeg offers to the Canadian music scene is just like it's so overlooked, but there's such a deep well of creativity and joy and artistry here. Like, and I love being a part of that. And I love sticking around for it in some ways too. Like, I'm touring so much this next little while, but I mean, like, I love just being able to be like, that's my home. These are my community members who I want to raise up. I want to tell you about this band. Have you heard about this band? It's like, that's something that means something to me to be a part of. And I mean, I could still tell people about it if I move, but It's just not, it's not in the cards for me right now, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But yeah, people try to tell me, you got to do this. But it's like, I tell them the Wi-Fi signal is so strong here. I don't have to go anywhere. We can just be in touch on the internet.
These podcast interviews are seamless. No, Winnipeg in general just gets a bad, I don't know. It's weird. I've never been able to spend more than like a week at a time in Winnipeg, but it's a cool city. It's a really cool city. Very cool people, very cool scene.
I'm loving it.
So obviously you like traveling around. You love the traveling part. I noticed in one of the tour wrap-up videos you just did a couple of weeks ago.
Great tour videos, by the way.
Great tour videos. But you had gotten video proof of you actually driving. So are you not a fan of driving? Do you typically...
Oh, I love driving.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
But I'm never taking the video while I'm driving because that's not safe.
All right.
No, I love it. I have a need for speed.
Oh.
I have a will for the road. When I started going to therapy the last 2 years, they're like, or the therapist was like, tell me about your calm place. I was like, I think it's on the highway, like driving. Like just there's something so calming to me about just like centering your thoughts on like one goal. And I can't be like checking my phone and just listening to a podcast, listening to music, just kind of like focusing in. I love driving the big van. It just makes me feel like a powerful bitch. I love it.
So are you mostly doing the driving on tour?
Well, it was mostly the bass player and I would drive for the most part, but now Michael from Royal Canoe is drumming with me now.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has a need for the road. He loves it. So then I'm driving way less than I used to because it's like, if they want to, sure, like that's great. But then every once in a while I'll be like, it's my day.
My time.
Now
I'm taking 6-7 hours behind the wheel.
Now you say,
oh yeah, no, for real. I can definitely put in some obsessive hours for sure.
If you like to speed a little bit, and you know you do, maybe this is getting into the weeds a little too much, but if you're planning out a tour and you're budgeting, this is how much gas is going to be, and this is how much food is going to be, is there any room in there for, I'm probably going to get a speeding ticket or two?
Oh, no. They never catch me. They never catch me. The only way they catch me is when I'm home and there's those red light cameras. And that's when I get caught sometimes.
Okay.
On the highway, they never catch me.
That's, wow, some serious driving experience. Yeah, your tour videos, when we were, following along with the Shaky Graves dates, they're a lot of fun.
Thanks.
You edit those videos in ways that I feel like I don't see very often. I don't know what it is, but
again,
it appeals
it's
to me
the whole
for sure.
package. Again, you just, whatever you're doing, it draws people in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, like going back to Fear, which I was not familiar with the rollout at the time, but it seems like an album that you spent quite a bit of time working on, a long time. And then you put out this album, which is incredible. You put out a live album as well, which for some people looks like that would have been their last concert before the pandemic. It was February 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that how was that concept born, the idea of putting out this like fully flushed out live album?
Well, I definitely was like, okay, if we're putting all this time and effort and production into this show, I want to capture it in some way. But I didn't have at that time, there wasn't a plan to put out a full live album. It was like, maybe we'll cut some vids to put on YouTube. Like, it wasn't like, that idea wasn't formed at the beginning. But then when almost immediately, like we were on the road and then we got turned around because of pandemic stuff, immediately within the first couple months, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not leaving for a while. Like we could do something like that. We could do something with the footage. We could make something joyful and fun. And I mean, it wasn't something that hit me right away because what hit me right away was like depression and stuff. But like after that, when I cleared my cobwebs a little bit, we were just kind of like, okay, how can we make this something that we can share that is joyful? And like, because that show meant so much to me too. I was just so grateful that we thought to record all of it, even though we didn't know what we were going to do with it. So then it just felt like, okay, we can put something together. And I spent a lot of time, because there were 5 shows. So I spent a lot of my days listening through the shows, which some days were easier than others, because some days I would listen and it would just make me too sad. And I couldn't. So it took me a long time to like actually edit it together, because I was just like honoring where my mental health was at, where generally speaking, I would have just pushed through and been like, fuck it, you're sad all the time, who cares? But like
right.
this time I was just like, oh man, I'm going to take my time. Cause I would just listen for like a full day, like trying to be like, was that performance better? Or was that performance better? And I was like, this makes me too sad. I can't touch it. But then, yeah.
Sad because like that's just the how you were feeling in that time, or was there something about the performances?
It was sad because it was so fun.
Right.
And it felt like there was this momentum boot. Like where I was in those shows was so joyful and hopeful and excited about the future. And at the time when I was editing it, it was in the never ending cycle of stay-at-home orders and unprecedented this and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be listening to it and being like, am I ever going to get to do this in this way again? Like it just like was like bittersweet. It was sometimes so encouraging and so fun. And I was just so grateful that we got to do all of those shows in the way that we did them without any thought of anything bad.
Right.
Like they were so joyful and fun. And like, it was such a culmination of work that I had been putting together for so long. Like it just felt so satisfying and validating. And so then listening back, it was just like, it was just this mixture of emotion. Like, is that ever going to happen again? And like, but then also like, I can't believe we got to do that. But then just mixed into this kind of like, I can't listen to this. It's too much, too loaded.
Well, I'm glad you pushed through because it's very, very cool.
Well, and I think of like all of the musicians going through that during the pandemic. I would think Winnipeg would probably be the best place to go through that again, because it feels like there's such community there. So was there a lot of like, were you making calls to the Brothers Landreth and other artists in Winnipeg, and you guys were all in it together, and it seems like such a big community?
There would be some days where I'd be like FaceTiming like 10 people like in a day. And then for a week I'd be like, I can't talk to anybody. But like, yeah, like we would all kind of like check in on each other and be like, hey, you still alive in there? Like, how you feeling? And then it would be waves though. And because it was still like, I knew that like Dave Landreth lives like a few blocks away from me, but we weren't seeing each other. Like, and I'm not gonna FaceTime the same people every day. So it was like, there was a lot of solitude time for sure. And a lot of time of personal reflection, but knowing like, I still felt a community energy, but I think everyone was kind of going through their own isolated events, like with themselves. Like everyone needed to take their time to figure out what they were doing. So not even everyone wanted to answer all the time when I wanted to talk. It's like, or vice versa. Like there'd be a time where I'd like FaceTime someone in the morning and then they'd call me back later in the evening. I'd be like, nah, the window's done. I don't want to talk to you.
It was a weird time. Like there were so many video calls with people that you wouldn't have even talked on the phone with.
Exactly.
In that period of time, right? Like
totally.
It was just like, it was kind of cool that you all of a sudden had a weird excuse to video chat with someone for the first time in your long friendship. But I also found that I drank too fast in Zoom calls. Like if there were big Zoom gatherings.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it was nerves or just like the anxiety of I don't know, being on a video call for 45 minutes, but just drank way too fast for almost all of them. It was a disaster.
To put a Post-it on your computer that says pace yourself.
Slow down. I do want to go back to that the creative process a little bit. And do you have plans for the rest of the year? Are you putting more music out this year? Yes. Okay. The answer is yes.
This year, yeah. The answer is yes.
Okay.
I'm like thinking about it. Yeah. No, I am.
You said that you do a lot. There's a lot of collaborating. It's not just you bringing the ideas to the table. And then when you're working with the Matts, aka the Dead Men.
Yeah.
Matt Peters, Matt Schellenberger, rather, from Royal Canoe.
Let's call him Schellenberger. I prefer it.
Oops. With like the light, with those booming horns. Is that something that you knew you wanted to do, or was that something that they brought to the table? Because that does fits the profile for the Matts, right?
Well, that song was a tough nut for sure, because that was one that we had written on like a writing retreat that we did, and we wrote it in a very particular way, and I was already like performing it on festival stages like before we had even recorded it, but I knew that there was something off. It was a bit less booming to start. It was a bit more jazzy and like had like different lyrics, and I tried it on stages and I was like, there's something just not hitting. And then we brought it to Marcus Paquin, who also produced that album with the Mats and I.
Mm-hmm.
And I played in that demo and I knew in my heart that it wasn't hitting, but I wasn't ready to admit it yet. And he was just like unmoved. Like he listened and was kind of just like, the song does nothing for me. And I had a mental breakdown. Like I was like, even though I knew that was true, but I wasn't like, I hadn't said it out loud yet. So then when he said it, I was like, and I just became very like that song became a bit of a burden to me, where I was like, we're never going to crack this code. But then actually my episode from hearing that he didn't like it turned into that's what made me write Fear.
Okay.
Was because I was so freaking out about it. And then they were like playing a bass line in the basement. I went upstairs to like cry and I told no one to look at me. But I didn't tell anyone that I was feeling that way. I was just kind of like, I just need to go to the bathroom and like make a phone call. And I was like, oh, I'm shit. Like, just like that moment of like, nothing I do is good. Like, I'm never going to be anything. Da, 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 da. And then came back downstairs and they were playing the bass line that became Fear. And they're just jamming out. And then I took the microphone and was like, oh!
Yeah.
Just feeling so like, so then that was kind of the catalyst for that. But then the light itself, we took it into the studio after that. And I just kind of said like, okay, we're giving this song 2 hours. And if this doesn't come out to be different and like actually better, then we're scrapping this song, because I can't put my heart into this anymore. It's too sad. And then we all took 2 hours and we all went to like separate parts of the studio. And that's kind of when those production points came out. And the Mats kind of were like, okay, what about these horn shots? Or what about kind of changing the energy of it a bit? And then I came up with the verses. I changed the verses up completely, and then just kind of sang them live for them. And that's what ended up being on the record mostly, was just that first take, because it was like, I don't think I can redo this, but because I was really like trying to convince them that it was good. So I was putting like all my emotion in it, because I was like, I think this is good, but I need to commit or else they're going to not think it's good if I don't commit. But then, so yeah. That's a long answer too. That's how that worked.
It sounds like quite a process. Has the process changed at all for what we have to look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, so like there will be a record like eventually.
Someday.
But like a lot of the new songs were written or kind of refined during the pandemic. And a lot of it was like a start and stop thing, where it's like I booked studio time in November and then we couldn't go in because of pandemic stuff. So then I thought that I had a certain amount of songs that I wanted to work with. And then we had all this nebulous time. It was like, are we ever going to go in? So then we were just writing more and more, a lot of it over Zoom, which is strange in some ways. And that was a whole new world for me to figure out. But yeah, like it was similar in certain ways where like, yeah, we all kind of know how we work now and we know how we're comfortable with each other, which was something that we were discovering more and more on the first record. And now it's like, I feel more comfortable being like, I don't agree with that. And they feel more comfortable being like, I don't agree with that. And like, because that is trust when it comes down to it. Like if I feel like I can say, I fucking hate that, that means that I trust you implicitly.
Yeah.
If I'm like, oh, sure, we'll go. That like, usually like in a songwriting session, you have to be open. And that's something that Marcus would always say too. It's like, don't say that you hate it until you know that you hate it. Like, let's say we start with yes, and we go down the road as far as we can, and then you can evaluate. So then that would kind of be how the Mats and I would generally work. But at a certain point, if I know that I don't like something, I'll say it. And that to me means that I trust you.
Yeah.
I think it's vice versa, because we can say like, I fucking hate that idea, but then go for lunch and talk about our lives and we still love each other. And it's like, no, we're not like in these like intense fights. Like we respect each other enough to be able to say those things. So
will hot dogs be part of the theme of upcoming projects? I
mean, maybe more corn dogs. I went to the Red River X last weekend. that's kind of a carnival here, and I had a corn dog, and it really illuminated things for me. So I got to move on.
Seasonal change, eh? Okay.
And I saw that post as well, and you got chastised a little bit by some for the ketchup choice. So obviously you had ketchup on your corn dog. Let's say ketchup's not an option. What? Ketchup's not an option. What's going on the corn dog?
Like mayo or something? Like mustard is just never my first choice.
Huh. It can be a polarizing.
I remember like a friend that I had in high school who would always eat mustard sandwiches and get some on her face. And I would always just be like, I hate mustard. I just remember hating mustard from a young age. Like the smell of it, the yellow of it. It's just like something I don't know.
Everyone's got a comment.
I can get behind the mayo for sure. I can get behind the mayo.
You down for mayo on a corn dog?
I'm down for the mayo. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing about hot dogs / corn dogs is that, across pretty much the entire planet, there are different variations of it.
Have you ever made your own corn dogs?
No. Oh, I don't know how to make things.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to think of potential merch ideas involving that.
Well, you got to be very careful, right? Like you think
corn dog maker.
You think of the Foo Fighters and the Mentos getting thrown on stage.
What did they do with Mentos?
Well, they just in the video they had Mentos in the Big Me video.
Right.
And then all of a sudden people were showing up at shows throwing Mentos on stage. Oh. I don't think hot dogs is something you want.
Hot dogs would hurt less than being having a Mentos hucked at your face.
Yes.
It's kind of like, it's like pellets, but like hot dogs pretty soft.
They could fire hot dogs out of like a t-shirt gun at a hockey game.
Actually, that's very true. Actually, I think that has been done.
Oh, I should get.
Yes, you should. There it is. We figured it out.
We did it. And so basically, this is how like the songwriting sessions work as well, right? You just idea gets snowballing.
We're just riffing.
Okay.
We're just riffing here. Yeah.
And boom, we've got our song.
Yes, that is perfect for your set. You bring out a gun that fires warm foil wrapped dogs.
Warm dogs.
Hot dog cannon.
No, foil free. Just raw dog, just out there.
Raw dog
no mustard, just straight up. You will get another niche fan base coming to your shows if they know that you're doing that, right?
Yeah, hungry people.
I love
that.
It's perfect for the festival's setup already, right? Yeah. Okay, I think we're good.
It makes sense too. It seems kind of on brand just with the way you interact with the crowd. On that Fear live album, there is a moment near the end of the show where you ask the crowd if they've been drinking enough water. So, make sure you're fed, make sure you're hydrated at a Begonia show. It's important stuff.
Yeah, we just kind of so that's good. We bring out a hose. We hose the people down, and then we launch hot dogs at them. That's good.
Oh, man.
Is it hot dog water? Is that what is in the hose? Is the hot
dog? Hot dog water.
Are we roasting these hot dogs?
A bit of a Limp Biscuit.
You're gonna be opening for Limp Bizkit with this attitude in no time.
Oh, I hope so. Biggest dream of mine.
Now, does it get to the point too with songwriting where you go too far and you're like, okay, wait, hold on, we had the idea, we're taking this too far. Let's dial.
Yeah, always. Okay. And I'm the queen of too far. I will go as far as the furthest person wants to go. Like I love stupidity. I will go like if someone is willing to riff with me, if someone is willing to be an idiot with me and just riff, I don't necessarily always have the gauge to stop it first. Like I will go as far as the stupidest person wants to go.
And that always works out.
No. But it's fine. It's a challenge for me. It's like sometimes on stage I'll do that just with my like banter and stuff, and I'll be like, ooh, okay, you really made this hard for yourself to come back from. And then it's always a challenge. It's like, okay, now you've said too much, people look confused. So you have to figure out how to save it. And if I do save it, ooh, it's just gratifying as fuck. It's like if you kind of just make the person who looks really confused and like you've lost them, if you kind of get them back, it's like, yeah, I did it.
Have you ever done stand-up?
No.
No? Never? Not once?
No.
Why are you acting so...
Too scary. I feel like I don't... Like, people say that to me every once in a while. It's not like everybody says that to me, but people do say that to me every once in a while. I just don't think I would be that funny in that context.
I think maybe that's the contrarian in you, refusing to entertain advice. I don't know. I think
I don't know. Tell me to move to Toronto and I'll do that.
I think it could work out. But your stage banter was fantastic. I was wondering also, like, what is your for winning the crowd, especially in a venue? You're just on tour with Shaky Graves opening. You're guaranteed not everyone in the crowd is going to be too familiar with you, right?
Yes.
What is that challenge like for you?
It's kind of fun in a way, because the pressure, like, and maybe this sounds weird, but it feels like the pressure is off in some ways.
Okay.
We walk up, like, and as long as the band, like, feels good about it and is having fun, to me, then it just doesn't matter. Like, then we do our best, and the people that would be into it get to be in, like, will come into the fold. And if they're not, I still want to put on the best show I possibly can.
Yeah.
Like, and so then, and that's the same thing where it's like, I look out into the audience and I try to find who's actually listening. And then that's kind of like where the focus lies. And I just, like, sometimes with the song, like Hot Dog Stand too, because it's like a bit of a quieter one, there would be nights where people would be chatting and I'm like, is this the night maybe I don't do it? It's like, no, this is my show.
Yeah.
And if people are going to listen, they're going to listen. And if they're not, they're not. And that's kind of the cross to bear, like, as an opening act in that way. And it's fun to try and win people over. It's like the same thing with, like, the banter, when I know, like, maybe it's this sadistic challenge that I enjoy where it's like, I want to make you like me. And if I can't, then I move on. Unless people are, like, really vocally mean, which doesn't happen that often. And the Shaky crew, like, we're so encouraging and nice, and all their fans are, like, just there to have a good time, is what it felt like for the most part. So if they're listening or not, like, no one was rude. Like,
yeah.
And I understand, like, I try to be more conscious of that now, but I've been a person that's probably talked while the opener was playing, and I hate that. But, like, I know that it's not like they're bad people if they do it. Like, I don't love it. And now I feel more kind of like, if you pay to go to a show, why would you not watch? But
yeah,
at the same time, like, I can't say that I've never done that in my life. So I try to just be like, okay, I just work a little bit harder. I just try to, like, but you never want to, like, try too hard. So people are just like, what is this desperate bitch doing? It's just like, I just go on stage and do what I do. And then if they like it, they like it.
Yeah, they're lost if they're not paying attention.
I struggle with that at so many shows, because you try to remember that everybody's there for a different reason. And just because I'm super into the music and maybe super into the artist that's on stage and want to focus and listen, other people are maybe casual fans, and it is a night out for them with their friends. And, so there's been many times where I've wanted to say something. I was at one show and it was the headliner was on, and we were kind of standing right at the front of the stage, and there's a group of about 6 people behind us. They were in a circle. So 3 of them had their backs to the stage.
Oh my God.
And they're all like, I'm thinking, like, just go to the back of the room. Like, if you're not that into it, why wouldn't you just go
outside? That's the thing that pisses me off, when it's like, you go to a show. I remember there was one, I don't even remember what venue it was. There was just someone standing in the front, very tall, just staring the whole time. It's like, why are you in the front if you hate this? Like, I just, yeah. But like, I try to find amusement in all of these funny little things. It's like, what a funny and entertaining thing I get to do all the time. Like, and I try to just, like, find the humor and try to just have fun with my band. Like, if a show feels like a stinker and the people are weird or whatever, it's like, well, we're still here, so we can either decide to hate this, like, and make it really horrible for ourselves, or we can just have the best possible time that we can and appreciate each other and play well. And, like, that's kind of like, you, at a certain point, you do have a choice, because you can only really control yourself.
So it does sound, while you're on stage, you're aware, you're looking at crowd, have you ever been distracted by something not on stage or not in front of you while performing? Like, oh, I wonder if that veggie tray is still going to be in the green room when I get on stage.
Oh, I'm sure. I feel like, though, for the most part, when, like, I am an easily distracted person in walking life, like in waking everyday life. Like, I just have cyclical thoughts constantly that are like, blah, shiny thing, blah, blah. But, like, on stage is where I'm the most focused that I can possibly be. It's like, that's where I am the most present in my life. and like seriously, it's like the most calming, most present I possibly am, because there is that level of like, again, like with being an opener too, and with every show where you're kind of on the edge of like, ooh, this could go either way, and it's kind of exciting where it's like I have this opportunity to do well and to meet new people and to gain new fans and to connect with people emotionally, but it's like, ooh, but this could go really bad. So you're just constantly like I feel like I have to be present. Like, and that's why I don't like being drunk on stage. I don't like being high on stage. Like, I don't like, because I feel like I'm like, people think I'm wasted all the time, like when I'm not. Really? And then when I am, they're like, I didn't even notice. Like, it's just like, whatever. So I feel like I say enough dumb shit and I am flighty enough that it's like, I want to be present so that I can go off and do whatever, but then still like have my kind of like center point of like what I'm doing.
And still no like vocal training, right? No education?
No. Like was it like the 8th grade? My mom was like, if you want to do voice lessons, I know this church lady in her basement. Like, I went and I sang like hymns and show tunes with her for like a couple months, but was like, this does not work for me.
Right.
I never really found like my niche in that way, because I'm not really a scholastic person. Like, I did fine in school. I graduated 12th grade, but like that's about as far as I went. And I was fine. Like, I wasn't failing or anything, but it was just school and like, yeah, like the theory part, it just never connected for me in the same way. So it was always very like by ear and just very emotionally driven, which sometimes has been a thing that I've been really self-conscious about in the past, especially when I was starting out and it seemed like everyone around me knew so much, which is like, then as you age, you understand that nobody knows shit, but like everyone just is making their shit up just like you. But I feel like it was something that I used to try to hide, or like find ways to be like, ask people that I felt comfortable with, like Ariel Posen, for example. I would like get him to like write out all the keys of my song so that I could at least say, yeah, it's in the key of E, like to people, and pretend that I knew, but I was like memorizing from a sheet that he wrote all the keys on, because like I didn't fucking know. Like, it was just stuff like that. Yeah, it's all, a lot of it is feel for me, and that's kind of that's like my pro and my con sometimes. Like that it's very like emotionally based.
Well, it's working. And when are we going to see you out here again in Alberta? Do you know?
I don't know. Well, I'm playing Calgary Folk Fest.
Very nice. Okay.
In a couple weekends.
Yeah.
And trying to think. I mean, I'll be on tour on and off for the next few years, I imagine. So I'm sure I will be back.
Well, I'm excited to see your set again, because your band looked like they're having a friggin' blast too, which was a lot of fun to watch from the crowd.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And I have such good people like that come on the road with me. It's like, and that's the thing, like when it comes down to it, to me, this is my life and this is like a quality of life thing. So like, I want the people around me to feel like respected and have fun, because that's what makes it the best for me too. So I love that you say that, because that's nice to hear.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, you know, you see that person doing what they're doing, you're like, that person was born to be doing that, and that's exactly what it is with you. Were born to be on that stage and drawing people in.
Thank you.
All right, Alexa, thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and we can't wait to have you back in Red Deer.
Yes, thank you so much. This was such a lovely experience. I appreciate it.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
I have we've had some great conversations.
Yeah.
But I have never wanted to just kind of separate myself more and just let you handle things.
Why?
And hear her talk.
Oh,
like, I don't know what it is. She's just like, even just like on stage, we talked about the stage presence.
Yeah.
But even just listening to her, like I could just listen to her talk and tell stories.
Totally.
All day.
Mean, it was
such a like.
It was funny because we've reached out a few times to try to get Alexa on the show over the last year, especially as we knew that Shaky Grave show was coming to Bose, and saw her set on stage at Bose, and I was like, It's no. There's no way that Alexa's too shy or too subdued to hop on a podcast. And so I went and talked to her. I was like, "Yeah, you don't have a problem doing an interview?" And she's like, "No, of course not." It's like, I can't wait for this conversation because it's going to be a lot of fun, and it was fun.
Sometimes you just got to cut out all those middle people and go straight to the source. One thing I'd noticed on her, too, it was awesome seeing her open for Shaky Graves, too. And I forgot to mention it, I was going to talk about, too. But she had played with Future Islands.
Oh.
I think not long after the Bow Show at a festival.
Oh, in Victoria or something, right? Yeah.
And again, just talk about two artists that really captivate and command your attention.
Yeah.
That would have been a hell of a night.
Yeah, we should have asked about that. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I feel like that's my responsibility.
Way to go. Because I was just listening to I was just a podcast listener for this.
All right, so as we release this episode, wherever you get your podcast, you are currently traveling back from the States.
I'm driving somewhere.
Driving somewhere from sunny California. I hope your trip is and was fantastic.
I'm in the middle of Utah right now.
Okay, there we go.
Life.
Well, it looks like you're actually here, but how does that happen?
What are you going to be doing?
I don't know. I actually don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2 weeks. So
okay, good.
We'll check back in.
We'll be
on the road, the stage,
right in the middle of summer. One thing super important as well. We do hear from people from time to how can I support the show? And we over and over and over again subscribe to that YouTube channel. Obviously, that's a huge help. But share.
Tell someone about it.
Tell somebody about it. If you enjoy the conversations and
do you know someone who likes to breathe, aka enjoys music? Then tell them about the show.
Enjoy this. So share, subscribe, follow.
And, check out our friends Sawback Brewing Co., Go Services Inc., Bose Bar and Stage. If you've never seen a show there, well, that should change at some point in your life.
And our lovely production team at Communal Creative Studios. Producers Ryan and Ryley.
Thank you so much. You are loved and blessed.
If everything goes well and I don't have any roadblocks,
Wednesday.
I'll be back. And when?
Wednesday.
The Road the Stage is produced by Ryan Kuly and Ryley Surian at the Communal Creative Studios in Red Deer, Alberta. In partnership with Go Services Inc., Sawback Brewing Co., Tourism Red Deer, and Bose Bar and Stage.